Welcome everybody. We are back live on our Wednesdays. This is our last Wednesday that we're going to be doing without a game to play, which is pretty exciting. This is I have to say, Eric, I give you guys a lot of props because this is, I guess, my second off season now, and this can be pretty rough. But thankfully, this has been a really eventful summer, just in terms of what's been going on, certainly at the university and then with recruiting. But today we are going to talk about maybe the season at large, a little bit more of a bigger view. And we're going to look at some specific players that have made some strides over the off season. And we're going to talk about some concerns. So some things that a lot of people have certainly highlighted. I'll give you a hint, a little bit of a spoiler. We're going to talk about the offensive line and maybe why that shouldn't be as big of a worry as some people think. Drew, you're looking good. I like the beard, man.
Do you like the sty in this eye that has it looking closed? How about that?
I wasn't going to bring it up, but it's certainly, yeah, it's a look.
Yeah, I got in a fight. No.
Some sort of amoeba or bacteria swimming in a tide pool.
Not sure. End of summer staph type stuff. Maybe staph infection in the eye. Who knows?
Okay. Let's move on from some ocular infections and talk about maybe a special we've got going on at Inside Texas. You can join us now for $1, and that's going to give you a week's worth of access and a full year of access to The Athletic if you stick around with us. So please join us there. And the other thing, as we are getting close to the season, I want to bring this up for everybody right now, and that is this document, this book. This is to me, the signal that Texas football is just on the horizon. It is our very own Paul Wadlington's Thinking Texas Football. The link will be in the description. Please go ahead and check that out. We would love for you to get that. It is one of my favorite things every year is to get that from Paul. It's very insightful, and especially if you're a fan of maybe, I don't know, hating OU, there's a really great section in there. All right, guys. The comments are streaming in. Thank you, everybody. Good. I've got some Chip Brown vibes. I'm going to take that as a compliment. That is just undeniable. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that, David Yancey. All right, let's get into it, Eric. Today you posted an article, 5 players to look out for this season. And what we mean by that is generally their stock has been rising. Let us know a little bit. When you say stock is rising, maybe you can set the criteria for us by what you mean by that.
Well, we're hearing a lot more about them this month than we have in the past. Some of these guys that left out, like Grayson Littleton and Dalen McCutcheon, we've heard about them since they arrived on campus. So those guys didn't necessarily qualify, even though, if you haven't really followed closely this offseason, you might be surprised at how advanced those 2 players are for being true freshmen. But the criteria is mainly guys we've been hearing a lot more about in the last 3 weeks. And, guys, some of them are going to make an impact this year, maybe even have a chance to push for starter snaps. Others, they might struggle a little bit depending on who gets back healthy, and it might be a little bit longer path for them to the field. But nonetheless, they're showing a lot more ability and comfortability with the playbook and with the quarterback in the case of Khalid Lockett.
And we've got, you highlighted 5 areas. Well, really 4, if you think about it. We've got the linebacker position, the wide receivers, cornerback in Kobe Black, and then obviously the running back in Christian Clark and CJ Baxter. I want to talk about the running back room a little bit because that has been discussed in the offseason as strength, certainly with the depth there, but there is a little bit of uncertainty. We're bringing in some players that are coming off some injuries. Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit about maybe the concerns that certainly people might have and maybe why those shouldn't necessarily be concerns.
Well, the concerns are obvious because they're both pretty serious injuries. At the time that CJ Baxter got hurt, I had people telling me they didn't think he'd ever be back to normal again. Right. And then with Christian Clark at Achilles, man, hardly anybody comes back as fast as he did. He was back for spring ball. But based on everything I've heard this month, I feel confident about Texas having 4 guys capable of starting. That doesn't mean anybody's going to seat Trey Wisner. But last year, Trey Wisner played through a lot of bumps and bruises that, had they had more depth at the position, he would have gotten a rest. So this year, I think that they're all going to help each other stay healthy just by absorbing carries for each other. Now, Baxter, I'm not saying he's 100% as far as having his burst and his, that lateral quickness to make that one cut and go. But I do know that he's getting a lot of carries this August compared to what we expectations were. And even Sark said last week that he's going to have to change his he's building more confidence in CJ Baxter. He has to kind of rethink how many snaps he's going to get versus Ohio State. That's all stuff we've been pointing to. Christian Clark is the most explosive running back despite the Achilles injury. So, stock up for both those guys, and I expect them both to play versus Ohio State.
What do you one of the strengths going into this, Drew, is obviously, I think, the comfort people are having, certainly on a national level, but with the defense, on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, this was obviously one of the top defenses, if not the top defense last year. Certainly, statistically, it was up there. This should, or at least is forecasting to be equal, if not a little bit better in some areas. What do you really, if you had any concerns about this defense, what would that be? And maybe why we shouldn't necessarily worry about those concerns?
Oh man, I always have concerns about defense until they roll out there. I'm probably not the right one to ask. I mean, really, my concerns are going to be how are we on the edges? And not the edges as far as the D line, but the cornerback. I think a major part of what we need at DB this year, it's not so much that we don't have talent replacing those guys. It's the production and the turnovers, the production from Jade, the production from Makuba, the number of takeaways and impacts on the game last year was massive. Sometimes it put us in position to score. Sometimes it just gave the offense a break while we were struggling. But that is a key component, and so I feel much better about our special teams. And so when I think about special teams, and combined with some of the turnovers that we may be missing, maybe that offsets some of the things we may not be able to do from a turnover perspective defensively. But that is my major concern, is how do we intentionally generate the number of takeaways and impacts on the game and give this offense many more possessions to work with. So that's probably my biggest thing. It's not any particular player. It's just really more of, we need to see these guys make as many plays as they get opportunities to make. And so hopefully they find a way to do that.
Can I make the case for optimism on those points?
Yeah, absolutely.
More zone coverage from the corners, easier to have eyes on the football. Malik Muhammad, I think, has already turned over the ball more in practice than he ever had been before. And I think he's headed for a 3-and-out career. A lot of everybody's perception about him is colored by the playoff struggles, but everybody forgets the last time we saw him, he was very good against Ohio State. He's taken on more of a leadership role. The other corner, I can't vouch for takeaways there with Gilbo and Kobe Black, but I do think Kobe Black's got a chance to overtake the starting spot this year. But the number one source of optimism for coverage and turnover is better pass rush. Pass rush was good last year. Sometimes it was really good. Sometimes it sort of disappeared. I think the pass rush is going to be a lot more consistent. I think more balls are going to be tipped, thrown up for grabs, and I think more guys are going to come down with them. Derek Williams has a lot of range that usually pretends to getting picks. Michael Taft, of course, he's Mr. Right Place, Right Time. Yeah, there's going to be a drop off. You're not going to see two guys combined for 10. I don't think that was massive for those two. And Makuba was like having a wide receiver back there. And Janae Barron was so smart and had sticky fingers. That will be hard to replace, but I think it can be replaced in the aggregate with a lot of smart DBs, including Malik Muhammad, and also a better pass rush.
I want to take a second really quickly to hear from our sponsor. Let's hear from our friends over at Luxe.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE. or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
For those of you joining us, I'm here with Eric Nolleen and Drew Keltman. The three of us are going to be in Houston coming up on Tuesday, August 26th, with our friends over at Big City Wings. We want you to come check us out. We're going to be doing a happy hour there, and then a trivia, University of Texas centric trivia. That's Tuesday on August 26th. On Wednesday, the 27th, we're going to the Dallas area. We're going to be at the Katy Roadhouse. And then on Thursday, August 28th, we're coming back to Austin, Texas, being hosted by our friends over at Little Woodrow's. I know Eric and I are going to be at all of those. We'd love for you to come out and join us. There's certainly maybe going to be some questions that can't be answered here. Go ahead and come and see us. Maybe ask them live, and we can get those answered for you. All right. So we talked a little bit.
Hold on. There's like 15 Big City Wings. You just going to have them like do a scavenger hunt, try to find us?
Yeah, I sure am. If you guys come check out, first of all, if you're not following us on any of the socials, we will have all those addresses there. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm also going to make sure that those get posted in the description after
that Big City's West Loop at I-10. It's the big one, that marquee right near IKEA.
Yep.
Most people in Houston know it.
Okay, good. That's great. Let's talk really quickly here. Carrying on with this a little bit. So one of the concerns that I think everybody is having is with the turnover on the offensive line. Last year, I think when we had to see Trevor Gooseby play, I think there was some initial concerns about how that was going to be, and he certainly. Well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we had an All-American left tackle go out. I think if you're not a little bit concerned, then
not as concerned as I am this year. We knew Trevor Gooseby was at least going to be serviceable. We're not.
No,
sure.
Well, 100%. But I mean, you're losing Kelvin Banks, and I think that the point that I'm trying to make here is that he stepped up big time and basically put a lot of those fears to rest. But depth is a concern. So going into that, Eric, why should we feel okay with some of the offensive line concerns?
Well, I mean, the coaches actually feel decently well about the starting five. You know, that's good news there. You know, we've heard on numerous occasions they feel pretty good about it. That doesn't mean they feel great. If they get some luck in 2023, they didn't have a starter, didn't miss a single start all season. They need that sort of luck again. Yeah. There's also some optimism that, you know, if there's an injury in the interior, they can sustain that. Connor Robertson can come in for Cole Hudson if something happens to Cole, or Cole could take over for a guard if the guard is not playing well, or if the guard is injured, and then Connor Robertson can come in. So you can kind of manufacture depth in the interior. Now, what you can do with the if there's a tackle injury, you know, you might run more 12 personnel, or you're going to have to make up for that with scheme probably, and hope that Jaden Chapman can hold his own. Jaden Chapman's done okay, and then they can always move a senior guard to tackle if they need to, and just hope and pray that they can get by with it. But offensive line depth has been the concern all off season. You know, there's no point in, you know, crying over spilled milk, but you would like two of them have gotten a portal guy. Didn't happen. Got to go into battle with these guys. Hopefully they get some luck. Again, they'll be okay on the interior. Overall, I think they'll be able to run the ball better. Have an arch out there helps you in the numbers game. I think they're going to be able to run downhill with the interior a little bit better, with Neto getting a lot more movement than Connor, Cole Hudson getting more movement than Majors, that sort of thing. So there's a path for them to be pretty good. They're not going to be great. You're not going to mistake it for one of Kyle Flood's Alabama offensive lines. I think on balance, they could probably be as good as last year's offensive line, and then maybe be even better just due to some schematic advantages. Well,
let's stay in the offensive line here for a second. Let's take a question from our David Keith Williams. So this is David says, Eric, I've been worried about offensive line recruiting for the past few weeks. What does Texas do to consistently recruit a class of at least 3 to 4 potential difference makers on the O-line?
Well, I like the use of potential difference maker, because if you give an offensive lineman some time, a lot of them have a chance to become a difference maker. If you feed them to the wolves, they're not going to play well early. You need a lead tackle in every single class, a guy that can play left tackle. You have to find one. Sometimes that guy doesn't look as obvious as Kelvin Banks, or I thought Trevor Gooseby looked pretty obvious. That was just more of a network miss. I like the guy that they have in the class, Max Wright. Now, more likely than not, he's a right tackle, but at least he's a tackle. You got to take one of those guys as well every year. Missing on John Mills last year was a tough one. He was more of your developmental right tackle as well. So you need a lead tackle, a right tackle, or a swing tackle, a guy that can potentially play left tackle or right tackle, and then probably a swing guard, swing tackle, and then an interior guard that can have the chance to play center. True guards, I'm not going to take them unless I think they're special, unless they move like tackles and have the anchor that a guard typically has. I'm not really too interested in true guards. Now, I do like Nicholas Robertson in this class because I do think he's got some tackle-like feet while delivering the punch that you want out of a guard. The class that they have right now is pretty much how you draw it up. Turntine left tackle, Max right tackle, Nicholas Robertson as a guard. Do they have one more online? 4? Do they have 4? I'm drawing a blank. Right now, they're on pace to have a really good offensive line class, but you need it year in, year out. Taking 3 2 years ago is a bit of a setback.
Yeah, it is. It is a big ask. I want to go. We talked about this a little bit, Drew, and again, switching back to the defense while staying on Eric's article here about concerns. Please check this article out at InsideTexas.com. It's very, very good. The basic premise being, what are the concerns, and maybe what are some reasons that we can put some of those concerns to rest. And one of those, which I think you answered this really, I like the way that the tack that you took here, Eric. But it's the lack of clarity at star, and I want to get your take on this a little bit, Drew, because last year it was certainly a position that was managed very effectively. But the real question is what is going to change with maybe bringing in Dwayne Akina? We've certainly seen PK's willingness to be malleable in his approach to things. What are your expectations for that position going forward?
It's funny. It's going to be interesting to see how we schematically merge all of those together. I know Akina has a strong affinity for coverage first. Right. He's not going to put anyone on the field that he's not confident can be assignment sound and execute in coverage and be physical in the run game and get off blocks violently. So there's a certain bare minimum, there's a certain standard he already has walking in the door, which is kind of why, as great as Grayson Littleton's name has been when it's come up, it's just until I see Akina be forced to play someone younger, I just have to wait to see it. So it's while there's concern there, we have too many in between Johnny Nansen, between PK, between Akina, and between the talent we have. I have not necessarily dismissed it, but I've been comfortable to the extent where I don't have clarity, just because I understand we have guys that can rotate and play in that position and flex to that position. And the intent may be to get the right guys on the field in certain packages, or the right guys, the best 11 guys on the field. So it's a weird gray area because I think both Jalen Gilbo and Trey Moore, who, when they changed positions, were like, okay, they're certainly going to flex back at some point. That hasn't happened, right? So, my thoughts so far is we have the talent, but I'm anxious to see how the deployment looks once we get going.
Gilbo at star last year was a trade-off to get Barron at corner, and it worked out terrifically. Gilbo wasn't perfect. He was okay, right? Maybe you could say he was the weak link in the secondary. Well, the secondary was loaded otherwise. So that was a trade-off for last year. This year, they see Gilbo as a corner. They feel corner is his best position, just like they felt the same about Barron. That's not to say he's Barron, but he should play better than last year at his more comfortable position. And don't worry about the speed. He's got plenty of speed. I think, like Drew is alluding to, they're going to play matchup football. I've been assuming Jelani McDonald would be the nickel to start, especially against Ohio State all season long. I think he's got unique coverage ability for a safety. He does have sort of cover traits that a lot of safeties his size certainly don't have. And I think they'll pick their poison with that and rely on experience and zone coverage to give them help. But at the same time, we've got September where Grayson Littleton's going to grow up fast. Yeah. I'm a little bit in wait and see mode on Littleton, but we've just heard so much. They've got so much time invested in them. At some point, you know what's going to happen if you have an understanding of reps being allocated in spring ball or in August rather. That's how I knew, years ago, people try to say that Tyrone Swoops was going to start at quarterback. Well, how was that going to happen when Shane Buechele is getting 80% of the snaps with the first team? I knew that was BS. So you can go by rep allocation and say, hey, they're very serious about playing this guy. We just don't know because Ohio State's the first game if they're really going to go with a true freshman there. I tend to think not so much. But if Jelani starts struggling with a quicker, smaller receiver, maybe so. But if Jelani's matched up on Max Clare, that Texas might like their chances there.
And one of the things that you mentioned there too, and I want to maybe go back to this and expand on this idea too, is, with the combination of PK, Akina, and certainly Nansen, we don't necessarily know how that position is going to be deployed in terms of usage. Can you expand on that a little bit, Drew? Like, what you talked about it a little bit, but what are some of the changes that you could see happen with an Akina defense that would change how that position is being used?
I mean, just Akina in general, he puts pressure on his DBs. I know before we had the defensive line, and especially the ends that we have now, we really didn't have the balance of talent to be able to take more on the DB's shoulders to offset maybe some inability to get to the quarterback. But Akina, he takes pride in that. I mean, one of the things he instills into being a DB, and this, even though he's in charge of the safeties, I promise you, culturally, it is across the entire defensive backfield. It's like, we're going to lead and carry this team. We're going to be physical in the run game. We're going to be great in coverage. We're going to communicate incredibly well. And we're going to lead this team and carry this team. And so I expect that to be a standard. And so, I mean, I think if these guys, of course, with the talent, of course, are being coached to that standard, I think we get a really good combination of being able to really put some pressure on the DBs and give our D line a chance to get home, give our LBs a chance to get home. And I can't necessarily say that's how it's going to be against Ohio State. But I do think as this defensive backfield continues to develop and hone its skills, specifically in man coverage, I don't see how we don't take advantage of those opportunities and let our talent shine. Whereas in years past, we just haven't been able to be confident in that. But I know it's just going to be a bare minimum for this group.
I want to switch over to the idea of maybe some lack of experience or maybe even elite talent and those issues that we might be dealing with on the offensive side of the ball. But before we do, I want to hear from somebody who's truly elite, and that's our friend David.
I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor, and I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach, and he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below.
So one of the basic premises here, Eric, is that we are either lacking experience or elite talent in certain areas. And I want to talk a little bit about that dynamic and that paradigm. So, DeAndre Moore is a good example, someone that has experience. He's coming into this season, certainly with some reps. But may not have necessarily had that elite talent that we're looking for. And the metric that we're using here is a Matthew Golden style year. What are you hoping to see, and what do you think?
I'm waiting to see. He might be elite. His sophomore year was similar to Matthew Golden's at U of H. He's got to be more consistent. Obviously, Matthew Golden caught everything thrown his way and things that were thrown just in his general direction. We haven't really seen that from DeAndre Moore. But DeAndre Moore has the speed to separate. Matthew Golden, he tested extremely well at the combine. He didn't necessarily get separation all that often like that on the football field. DeAndre Moore has shown that he can get separation pretty consistently. And then you've got he's got very good relationship with Arch Manning. I think DeAndre is actually going to blow up and be gone after this year.
All right. Well,
That's my prediction. These guys develop and put them in position to succeed far too often. I mean, there's just proof of concept one after another.
right.
And somebody's going to have to be a big play receiver. I think Wingo's going to be one as well. And then I'm not ruling out Parker Livingston, but Wingo and Livingston are what I'm talking about. Where Wingo is certainly elite when it comes to talent. Parker Livingston is a lot more talented than people are expecting. He might end up. I think Parker's going to end up being a draft pick because he's got that speed. But they don't have experience. And it's a lot of. There's going to be a lot on Arch's shoulders to get the most out of these receivers and to kind of guide them along on the field. That's a bit of a concern.
One of the other issues here that going into this was obviously the tight end position. We lose a draft pick in Gunnar Helm. But we brought in somebody that's highly reliable. The question is he going to be elite? What do you expect to see from that position?
Man, I mean, I love injuries. He's already,
I do too.
They've expedited that relationship with Arch. Obviously, that's the position I think where you have to have the best, mental telepathy. And you've seen a lot of guys make it to the Hall of Fame, even in the NFL, without being freak athletes, because they're so smart, know how to get open quickly, know how to present a good target to the quarterback. Find the soft spot and zone, that sort of thing. My favorite thing that I've heard about injuries outside of he catches everything. He's definitely going to drop the first pass against Ohio State just because we've been talking up his hands. But he's been able to get open in coverage where it's not necessarily schemed. Breaking off his routes, snapping off his routes, presenting a target, catching the ball. So he's not just relying on Sark's wizardry to get open. And I think he's got a touchdown last year running away from a Miami Hurricane cornerback, and it wasn't one of those things where he just had the angle or whatever. He just outran the guy, and so he's not your typical former walk-on. He's just a really good all-around player with very reliable hands. I don't know I don't know how great he's going to be in the NFL. I'm still kind of curious about his actual size. But he's going to get open a lot. He's going to present a good target to Arch. He's going to move the sticks. And I think because he's going to have more space on the field, thanks to the wide receivers and Sark's play design, he's going to make more big plays like that touchdown I referenced against Miami.
I like when I watch his film, the gift and the curse of his film, and I'm hoping it's not even a curse. It's just no matter how much I watch him, it's like I can't imagine the team we play against is going to scheme for him.
Right.
They're not going to go into the game saying we got to stop Jack injuries.
Right.
Yet when you watch his highlights, you kind of see it's like nobody's planning to stop this guy. They're going to let him get whatever he wants. So I do feel like he'll be one of those players that no matter what the Saturday is, no one's going to go into the game saying we have to stop Jack injuries. Next thing you know, he has 3 catches for 17 yards a pop in a TD, and you're like, do we scheme for this guy? Or do we not?
Yeah.
So he is one of those players who he'll never just blow you away on film to where you feel like you have to scheme for him, but he's reliable. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to be where he needs to be. And he's going to be one of those players that just pisses teams off.
Bad take Tuesday. RT predicted 13 touchdowns with. I mean, that's worst take Tuesday. I mean, Gunnar Helm had 7 last year. I think Tyler Warren had 102 catches and only had 8 touchdowns. So 13 touchdowns.
I like it.
Hey, man, sign me up for it. I'll watch
moving on to a player that, again, these are areas where we talk about elite talent, but not a lot of experience. And frankly, a player that's been flying under the radar a lot is Arch Manning. When you talk about a player that doesn't necessarily have the experience, but has been in the program, going into the 3rd year here, what are the challenges going into that? One of the things that you highlighted, Eric, is this idea of certainly mastery of the playbook, especially considering how comprehensive Sarkisian's playbook is. When I think about Arch going into this season, first of all, I think it's kid's got a rough go. I think he's prepared for it as best as anybody could be, but the expectations are just astronomical. What do we, if Arch Manning is to become a generational talent, what does that mean, and what needs to happen this season? Because he's already saying that hopefully for Texas he stays 2 seasons. But what do you want to see this season to see that there's going to be that possibility?
Well, I mean, Texas has the best defense in the country this year, and I think they've got a chance to have the best quarterback. That's usually going to give you a very good chance to win a national championship. And if he is one of the best quarterbacks, at least on a championship contending team, maybe there's better quarterbacks. I don't know, Garrett Nussmeier. LSU's not going to compete for the national championship, but maybe Nussmeier lights it up. If Arch is one of the best quarterbacks of all the teams contending, then I think he will have done well this year. He should have Texas competing for a national champion this season, maybe even winning it. I tend to think if he does play 2 years, he will be a generational talent. A lot of it has to do with the big playability, his ability to improvise. I think the ability to improvise is going to save him a lot, because there's going to be times he's a little bit confused, maybe made the wrong read. And still, because the wide receivers are running DBs out down the field, he's going to have room to gain with his legs. Improv is going to be big for him. But the concern I have is just the mastery of the playbook. And the whole playbook is open to him in ways that it wasn't open last year to Quinn Ewers. There's just more in it. It's the full start playbook. And that's just a lot to have downloaded, be able to process in game situations. The defenses that he's going to see are going to defend him differently than what he's seen in practice. You're going to have, once he has game film, there's going to be a lot of defensive coordinators are scouting him. One guy's going to have maybe a decent plan one week, and that's going to help the next defensive coordinator the following week. So they kind of build up on this sort of embedded intelligence on how to defend him. I think, that's something that he's going to have to account for. It's kind of like a hitter. He comes in hot up from the minor leagues, and then the pitchers find a hole in his swing and attack it. There's going to be some of that. But then there's just a lot to process, and he doesn't have a whole lot of experience with the skill talent. A lot of those guys are relatively young. We talked about the wide receivers. Are they going to be on the same page early in the season? I'm not so sure. I'm confident that he's going to be, very good by October and perhaps deadly by November. But I don't know what to expect in this very first game, although I'd rather have him than Julian Sain in his very first career start.
What is there? I mean, we are getting to the point now where, Arch has been talked about so much in the offseason, and we're so close to football. It's almost it's very difficult to almost even be additive anymore when it comes to this conversation. But one of the things that I think has been really amazing just watching Arch is when you talk about that improvisation. It's when we first saw him get on campus, he knew that he was athletic enough to get himself out of trouble. And the thing that I've noticed now as he's progressing, we're seeing a little bit more time, is he knows he's athletic enough to stay in the pocket just a little bit longer, just a little bit, just that extra beat to deliver that ball. Whereas before he was using that as an opportunity to get away. And I think it's really made a massive impact on just the way that he's been approaching it. Some of those Arch throws bombs have been really delightful to watch.
He's a playmaker. He wants to make a play on every down, and sometimes coaches are just, take the play that's given to you. He's got to learn that, just like he has to learn to slide and get out of bounds. He's still a bit of a wild colt.
Yeah, I think what when you think generational quarterback, we know the arm talent and the mind and all the other things are there. I think what you want to see him do is what we haven't seen done at Texas, in years. A quarterback who is a starter, is a reliever, and is a closer. Can play in red zone, play between the 20s, can stretch the field, can use his legs when needed. Can he do all the things that opportunities present? I think too often we've had guys who can finish strong. Sam Ehlinger is a monster, and could carry the team on his back. And hopefully Arch does not have to do that. But I think when it really comes down to it, who have we been able to rely on for 4 quarters to execute, to make plays, to make their teammates better, to make plays off script, make plays in spite of a bad call by the coach? Are you making your coach look better? Those are all the things. But when my standard for any Texas quarterback, and it's going to be the standard for Arch, can we start? Can he come in as a reliever, and can he close? Can he get us through an entire game without real drop off, where every time he takes the field, that defense doesn't have to worry about, he's going to get a 3 and out. Just there should be far fewer of those with all of the different threats and various things on the field. So Yeah, that's really the expectation for any Texas quarterback. But with his skill set and with his tenure in the program, being there 2 years prior to even touching the field, truly as a starter, with all of the things to support him. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm going to be looking for is can he start and close the games with us every game, and you know that we're going to roll with the way Arch is rolling.
Yeah. What was the last quarterback we saw like that? I mean, obviously Johnny Manziel was really good, but I don't think he reaches that level. To me, it's probably Cam Newton, where you're like, oh God, man,
Right.
you got no chance against this guy. That to me is generational. The term generational is used far too often, far too frequently. Tim Tebow, whatever, man. Tim Tebow had the good fortune of timing. Timing is so freaking important for quarterbacks. This question asks, would Sam Ehlinger win a national title with this team? I say, hell yeah, he would. First of all, he wouldn't be beat to hell because Sark wouldn't run him 20 times a game. And Sark would have him outfitted with all kinds of skill talent to take the pressure off. It was, it was a one-man hero ball. We called it hero ball for a reason. So timing, fortunate timing is a big part of it. If Arch plays 2 years at Texas, he's going to have timing one of these years.
One of the things I think about when we talk about a generational quarterback, and obviously, VY comes to mind, but I just remember being at that Rose Bowl in 2004 against Michigan, and we were around a bunch of Michigan fans, great fans, by the way. And, these guys behind us were just yelling at the defense, don't give him 3rd and long. Whatever you do, don't give the guy 3rd and long, because there was just, you didn't know what he was capable of, and it was terrifying. And that was the thing I think that Arch brings to this, is that level of uncertainty. He's really hard to game plan for, or at least in the limited sample size we've seen up to this point. That's certainly what it's been.
And here's a good one. Is Joe Burrow generational? Man, so first of all, he's two of his receivers are two of the top 4 or 5 receivers in the NFL. I mean, Joe was awesome, but man, he had a lot of help. Obviously the hot coordinator. Now, don't get me wrong, he was awesome. I would if somebody said that because that year he had, I don't think I'd argue too much. That White House celebration was one of the best ever in the history of sports. That team was just a lot of fun. Other than them taking dives in the heat in Austin, that team was easy to root for. But man, he had Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase to throw to. It was a third guy. A third guy that was really good too. So I don't know about Burrow, but I can see the case.
I mean, I wouldn't vote for him as just like, hey, he's the guy. But even when I think about Burrow, when I think about generational, or at least what stands out about Burrow is that same thing that really stood out with Michael Penix. Just high level of success rates, like high execution, combined with receivers that can make the tough catches because you're putting balls where no one else can get them. Yeah. I mean, there's some great receivers and great catches, but they both have to be in sync. There are a lot of great receivers. I mean, Jeremiah Smith may not have the quarterback he needs to be generational, even though the talent is there. It takes the combination of the two to be generational. And, Burrow has definitely had all the tools around him, but you still have to get the ball there. You still have to put it where no one else can get it. You still have to know the talent that you're working with. I mean, Joe Burrow was a transfer. He had to come in and get chemistry with the guys and figure all that out, and they had the guys to do it. But I'd say Joe Burrow, Michael Penix, guys who are able to succeed at a high level when it comes to connecting with their receivers on a consistent basis, explosive plays. I mean, when you need them, those guys did it. Those guys are I'd love to see that type of consistency and success rate in the passing game from Arch.
Yeah, he was cool under pressure, which is a prerequisite to be generational.
We want to thank everybody for stepping in here with us today. We got this is it. This is going to, like I said before, this is our last Wednesday where we're not going to be talking about an opponent specifically moving forward. We really appreciate everybody being here. We would love it very much if you join us at any of the 3 lives that we've got going on. It's going to be Tuesday, August 26th. Hit the Find People with that address again, Eric, in the marquee.
Yeah, that is West Loop and I-10 near IKEA. Everybody in Houston knows where IKEA is. It's right there. Come see us. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of people there. You know, you probably won't have to buy too many beers or wings. Just come hang out.
On August 27th, we're going to be at the Katy Roadhouse, and then on August
Katy
20th,
Trail Icehouse. This guy. So
Katy Trail Icehouse.
LC, where do you live?
We don't need to let people know where I live.
Katy Trail Icehouse, right there on Routh. Everybody in Dallas knows where that is too.
It amazes me that in a city as populous as Houston, you could simply say the IKEA, and everybody knows where that is. It's just phenomenal to me. And Thursday, August 28th, we're going to be at Little Woodrow's off Burnet. So check us out. Please join us there. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got trivia going on in 2 of those events, but likewise, it's going to be an opportunity for the community to get together, everybody to hang out, and that's what it's all about. Something to add, Eric? Oh, yeah.
Liver permitting.
I mean, my God.
This is August, baby. We got to get ready for the season. You can't handle a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Eric and I have done like one of these.
2 of these.
Well, right, but they weren't back to back like this. It was pretty rough. 3 in a row, triple header. Maybe a little hard. All right, guys. Thanks so much, and we'll see you around.